Hey gang, Ross Brand here for livestreamuniverse.com. Welcome to Livestream Stars. Livestream Stars is the show where we feature talented broadcasters delivering high-quality content across live stream platforms. Livestream Stars is brought to you by Livestream Universe, livestreamuniverse.com. We have a new resources page. Check it out, livestreamuniverse.com/resources. Pretty self-explanatory. Let's get right to tonight's guest. Our guest tonight, I'm sure everybody knows her already. A very talented live streamer and podcaster. Vicky Fitch is a serial entrepreneur and a business coach with 27 years of helping business owners with everything entrepreneur. She speaks around the world on topics such as social media, branding, client relationships, live streaming, and sales. Vicky is an expert in the field of direct sales, having been ranked in the top 10 internationally in sales and recruiting for more than a decade. She's the author of 7 Ways to Close More Sales with Confidence, and she runs the Entrepreneurial Rockstars Facebook group. And of course, as probably most people in live streaming already know, Vicky hosts 2 weekly podcasts, He Said, Red Said, and Vicky Fitch Live, A Fresh Perspective. Both are live streamed on Facebook Live. He Said, Red Said is Monday nights, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on the Vicky Fitch Facebook page, and Vicky Fitch Live is 10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday nights. Vicky also does tons of solo live streams, gives business and sales tips, and just helps build community within the world of live streaming. And I'm just so excited to have you on, Vicky. I had a great time on your show a couple of months back. Got to meet you and spend some time with you at Summit Live. And now, finally, after we've been talking about doing it for, close to a year, you're finally on the show. And this year, by the way, so that the same thing doesn't happen, I haven't booked out my show through the rest of the year yet.
I love it. Hey, Roz, really quick, I see people, Stacy says she can't hear, so I don't know if anybody else can hear or if we have no sound, but not that I won't just sit here and chat with you because I would love to, but we probably want to check that out.
All right. Hey, Stacy. Hey, Nick Rishwain, are you able to hear? Nick, if you can throw a 1.
Oh, Alfredo says he can hear.
There is audio. Okay.
Okay, we're good. Sorry about that.
Stacy, if you can unmute your browser, that might be it. Because I do that every time I do a show and I have a Facebook Live browser open, I mute the browser, and then when the show's over, I go to play back and listen to a second. I'm like, how come there's no audio? I wonder if it was like that the whole time.
Don't you hate that? We call that, right, hashtag live streaming problems, right? It's right. Like, we don't know. Are we on? Are we not?
And what's so funny is obviously there had to be audio because there were people watching and commenting in the chat. So,
well, she was the first one. So at least we know she was the first and said she couldn't hear. And then Nick came in and later. So, but anyway, we just rolled.
So thanks, Nick. Thanks, Alfredo can hear as well. Thanks both. And glad you got the audio working, Stacy. So, Vicky, let's just get right to what you've got going on right now. You got Social Media Day Denver coming up.
Yes.
And that's going to be a great event. Joel Comm and Mia Voss and Erin Sell and so many different people are a part of that. And I often forget that you're going to be a part of it because you're in California, not in Denver. But talk about that great event and what made you choose to go to Denver.
Absolutely. Well, the fact Kim Garza is going to be there as well. So I guess we're just California buddies. We're going to be flying in together, right? I love Joel, as you know, and Aaron, Mia Voss, and Courtney Kramer is going to be there, Brian Kramer. So I just have to hook up with my baes. I have to hook up with Courtney and Mia and get together. And that's one of the reasons we're going out there to Social Media Day Denver, which is going to be amazing. If you guys are anywhere near that area, you definitely want to check it out. And I think Russ, they can save $10 if they use the code Vicky at socialmediadaydenver.com.
Excellent. I've actually been looking at flights, and if things align with my schedule, I've been thinking about it for like a long time. Like I want to go to one of the social media days outside the area. So if I can do it, if I can get the time free and I can find a flight that isn't like, $1,200 unless you do an 18-hour flight with 3 stops.
Right.
that's a big if, right? Because
I hear those Spirit Air
tough.
My son says you can do Spirit Airlines now. I've heard good and bad about Spirit. He's flown on it a few times. There's a flight, I don't know how they do it, for $39 to Italy. Okay, so there's got to be he flew home and surprised me for Thanksgiving for like $40. So
you had to sit on the wing or something?
No, he didn't. It's just, there's no frills, no snacks, no drinks. So you got to bring your own stuff. But, so I'm just saying, Ross, we want you there. We want you to be there at Social Media Day Denver for sure.
Nick Rishwain says, I hear United is the best way to a 7-figure settlement.
I love it. Well, yeah, why don't you do that and we can split it? You just make a ruckus and I love it.
Yeah, I just have to get lucky and get drawn as the one that they want to remove, right? Kevin Black says, hey guys, the Button Brigade is on. Make sure you like, love, and wow. Thank you, Kevin. And also, guys, please do share this out. Let people know that we have a great guest tonight, Vicky Fitch from Vicky Fitch Live. And he said, Red said, and why don't we start there? How is the search for he going so far?
I know, right? I think it was Tim McVeigh that said, Vicky, this is like the longest search ever. Well, it's true. I'm not going to be, I'll be honest, like I'm being a little bit picky. This is something, this is something fun for me, right? This is my Monday fun day. I have to really gel. It has to be, this sounds terrible, but it has to be effortless. Like I just want to have fun, communicate. And I may have found the he. I'm just saying I told people I'm letting them have until the end of this month before we close off applications. But I think I may have found him. We have a lot of really positive response. So I'm going to finish up the month. But by July 1st, we will have a permanent new he. But I will be, like I said, I want to let people until the end of this month. And then, of course, if they've submitted, we don't want to not even give them a chance to,
do you think you're like 95% on this person, or 99?
I would say 95. Yeah, I would say 95.
Is this somebody that we know from the live stream?
I'm not saying that would be so unfair, and that would stop anyone else from wanting to apply, and that would just be terrible. But I love the way you pry. That's very cute. You can just tell
it's just a small group of people right now.
I know. Nobody else will know.
A few thousand people will find out tomorrow. It'll be all.
Right? It'll just spread like wildfire, but it will be no problem.
So the end of June or the end of this month?
The end of this month, I'm closing the application process, and we may find out sooner because less people are trickling in. I think some people think it's already locked up, and so they're kind of like, well, I get the applications I'm getting are, well, I know you're not going to pick me, but I was like, well, okay, you're right. If you're starting out that way, you're really probably pretty right because you have to come in with confidence, right? If you want to go head to head with Red, you seriously have to have some confidence. You can't come in, well, you're probably not going to pick me. You have to come in and, hey, let me give it all I got.
Right. So in all seriousness, for, having a co-host, I think, for live streaming, because it's so conversational, and there are people who do great solo live streams and stuff, but if you're going to do a regular show, certainly one of the ways to facilitate good conversation is either to have guests or to have a co-host. And since you've been doing this for a while, what did you look for besides the obvious things that might not have gone right in the past, but in terms of broadcast ability, marketing ability, things like that? What were you looking for in a co-host?
Well, it's funny that you asked because I wasn't looking for all the things most people would be looking for, right? I'm not looking for who's got a big group. As a matter of fact, somebody that has a really large following was interested in, well, and maybe I shouldn't have said that, but they're just not the right fit, right? I really care about them, but they're just not the right fit for me. It needed to be effortless. So it's not about how many followers they have. It's about how we gel. Like if they don't have any followers, but we have a lot of fun, that's honestly all that I care about is that it needs to be something fun and that we're entertaining people and that it's not rehearsed or coerced, or it's just got to be there. And so really that's what I was looking for. Somebody who understands me, who gets my humor and gets gets my witty sense of, and they can take a Fitch slap, because if they can't take that,
Right.
then they got to move on, right? And so it's that whole engagement process of, who do I really gel with? Who's going to have fun? Like, if I have I can't carry the show. I mean, I do all the time, and I can, but I don't want to. I want to be able, if I'm having a bad day, I want to just get in here and let that person go, hey, what's going on? Well, you look bummed. I am bummed. Like, I want to be able to just talk, right? And that's what I was looking for.
Right. And, you say like Red is always right. Is Red actually always right? Or are there times where, you're on He Said, Red Said, and you admit, okay, once in a while there's a guy who might have gotten one point in that was worth acknowledging.
This is true. Red is always right is a tagline. It's a little hashtag we use. But in general, I mean, I am not perfect. I actually don't even claim to be. So it's just really something more of a witty sense of humor to have fun with. But I honestly don't think I'm always right. Although I will say I'm often right, only because I don't usually speak about things I'm not sure of. Like, I'll just ask questions and go, really?
Right.
Or, it's so some people consider that, she's always right. Well, I just don't talk about things that I don't know about, or I'll just ask questions about it.
Right. So now your Wednesday night show, Vicky Fitch Live, is more about interviewing the guest. And so the topics are going to come from who the guest is and what they're interested in and what they know about. How do you come up with the topics for He Said, Red Said?
I really don't specifically before. That might sound a little bit funny. And I see Nick said he made it through the show without a Fitch slap. So he's one of the few, right, that's made it through without actually getting a Fitch slap. And for those of you who don't know, really quick, I am a G-rated girl. A Fitch slap is a public service. It only comes out when necessary. It's always done in love, and it's used to redirect the course of someone who's gone astray. I'm just saying.
Right.
So when I look for, the topics, it's really just, whatever is going on that day, whatever's happening are things. And then I have a new section that I call pet peeves, because that gives us an opportunity to just launch into something that's irritating or silly or goofy. And then we allow some audience participation and stuff. That's what I started blending in with it. And that's my intention. Again, the new co-host will have some say in that, but that's my intention, is to grab some audience participation and talk about current events and social media and business. But I always want it to have a little bit of business, but a whole lot of fun.
Welcome, Jacqueline. Welcome, Rachel Moore. Good to see you, Rachel. Rachel is Rachel going to be at Social Media Day Denver? We were just talking about it.
I hope so.
That's her hometown, right? That's her home area.
She's out there somewhere.
Somewhere. We don't know for sure, but somewhere out west. This is Rachel. So I noticed that you obviously get a lot of viewers for your shows, but you kind of promote them first as a podcast. Do you get even more responses? Like, is the podcast where you get even more listens or whatever the bigger audience is, or is it on the live streams?
I think that there's a combination, but it's a funny, this is probably like the worst marketing advice ever, right? I didn't go into podcasting in order to build a following. I mean, of course, we always want that, and that's an extension. So I don't worry as much about the numbers. I have sponsors, and I think they're probably more worried about it than I am. I'm just there to deliver value, because I always say, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. And if I'm not having fun, I'm not going to do it. It's just not going to. So I do get podcast downloads every day, which is great. But I've never actually announced or sent anything out about the podcast. It's like I did this little marketing thing. So I'll be launching some results in the beginning of next year. I did this marketing thing looking at 6 months without actually, I tell people it's a podcast, and I tell them on the show where they can go, but I've done no advertising, no emails about it. And then the second 6 months of the year, I'm actually going to be promoting it that way. And so I'm going to do the comparison. And I used it kind of for a data set, because I don't know where else you would get the information. Like, who else is willing to do that? Most people aren't, because they're really launching a podcast to get numbers and to start building sponsorship. So I wanted it for a little bit different reason, to say, okay, what happens with just doing your live streaming, using your social media channels, and what happens when you actually, when you actually focus on, marketing the podcast portion, where will those numbers change? So anyway, it may be a little bit different strategy, but I thought that the numbers would be really good, especially for one of the new books I have coming out later. So, always like to pull in some data.
And when your sponsors are interested in the show, are they sponsoring because of the podcast? Or are they sponsoring for Facebook Live? Or don't you know what's kind of moving them to get involved with your show?
Honestly, I mean, it's me, right? I mean, it's my personality and who I am. Most of them haven't cared so much. They care that there's a delivery system and that I'm good at what I do. I think they're looking to get outside some of the subsets that they've been in. I always talk about get outside the 5,000, which is that narrow group everybody else is shooting for. And so I happen to be outside of that group of people that they've already been, working on. And so it serves them pretty well. They do look at the numbers, of course, looking at some of the metrics of how many people I've had, and a couple of the unicorn broadcasts I had where I had, I reached over 300,000 people and 20,000 views, which is not my normal.
Was that Tony Robbins or?
No, that was that was its own unicorn, but that was a predictable unicorn.
Right. Was it the one that I was a guest on?
It wasn't, but I'm sure yours was a close. I'm sure it was very close, Ross. I'm sure of it.
Because if it was, do let me know. I can pretend that I don't care about those things. But
yeah, it wasn't, but
I know.
I will definitely. We do continue to promote them. We're looking at that second set of data as well, of what happens on the second round of promotions, and we're kind of big into tracking numbers. So,
hey Sabrina, welcome. Hey Adam. Welcome. Rachel has a question. She asks, is your podcast solely audio or do you adapt it from a live stream?
Rachel, I do both. We do take the audio file and put it up on Blog Talk Radio, on iTunes, on Stitcher, but we also, take the file and push it through to YouTube, Facebook Live, and it goes onto my website. I think I answered your question.
So it's an audio podcast, not a video podcast.
Well, it's a video podcast, but of course you can't do video on iTunes. And so, listen, maybe you can, and I'm just not aware.
I think you actually can do video. There are video podcasts. But...
Well, there you go. So maybe I'll have to change format. This shows that I'm not the one that handles that portion. As a matter of fact, Stacy Lynn Harp from Bible News Radio, who's watching right now, she's the one that pushes all the stuff out for me to iTunes and Blog Talk Radio and stuff like that.
Hey, Brad, welcome. Rachel asked a follow-up. Do you do much editing from the live stream to the podcast of your audio? Just rip it and go?
Yeah, the only ones we ever do is when people break my G rating and drop an F-bomb, then we go in, and on the ones that are going on to, those, we do bleep that out. But other than that, we really don't.
Does that happen a lot or not?
No, but it happened recently. It's still very fresh.
I'm guessing that was a call-in, right? Or no?
No, it wasn't actually.
It was you?
Yes, forgot. Oh, no. It wasn't me. Oh, yeah. That would be pretty epic. People would be like, say what? Okay, if somebody said Vicky dropped a F-bomb, I think that the downloads would go ballistic, because I'm pretty sure everybody would want to hear that.
I'm just trying to help you promote if that's was.
I love it, Ross. I love it.
So I think probably a good reason why the sponsors want to work with you, of course, is your ability to sell. And whether you have a big audience or small audience, if you can sell online, on live streaming, on anything, that's a big advantage versus people who just accumulate numbers. So you're a direct sales expert. You've been an entrepreneur for years. Talk a little bit about how you got into sales and how you developed over the years to where you now are, obviously, for anybody who can watch you, you're very polished at it and very comfortable talking about yourself and doing an ask and all that kind of stuff. So
all the stuff that makes most people cringe.
Right, exactly.
Well, I think you know, but for those of your viewers that don't know, I actually started my first business when I was 12. And,
Wow.
I wanted a phone line in my room. My dad said no. His friend owned an insurance agency, said, if you'll get people to book appointments with me, I will pay you. I went in the back room, 30 or 40 minutes later, I came out with 20 or 27 names of people that said yes. And anyway, it's like that. It just started because I recognized, again, it's now what we call as a pain point in the industry, right? I recognized a pain point that I could solve. It was ignorance on fire. I totally had no problem getting on the telephone and asking people. And then I recognized that other people were afraid. Other
Right.
people were nervous about it, and I had no fear or no concerns whatsoever. And so it was a great catalyst. I ended up then buying my first house when I was 19 and starting my first company with employees when I was 20. And that is what started, the confidence of honestly being on the phone when I was younger is what started driving me. Understanding being an entrepreneur is where I wanted money, and my dad was a trucker and we washed his trucks, and I recognized I could wash more with my friends doing it and supervising. Right. So I just started building on those entrepreneurial things. And then when I went in to start my first company was a bookkeeping and tax company. I built it up, and I was one of the number one franchises in the country. Then I sold that and went through. So I just started building. And when I got in the direct sales industry because I wanted to be a stay-home mom. And again, watching and again, I think, I just finished the rewrite of a book called Direct Selling 101 is because being top 10 in the industry for more than a decade, people want to know what you're doing. And, it's watching other people where their pain points are, their pain points of talking to other people, their pain points of identifying where other people are are challenged, that we can deliver value with, like I said, what they're struggling with. And so as I started seeing those problems, time, space, and money, I resolved those issues in a presentation format that they attach to people in an emotional way. And not because I'm manipulative. A lot of people, and this is something I think it's really important people understand, selling's not about manipulating. It is absolutely, positively not about manipulating. Connecting with people emotionally is not a manipulation. When you watch a movie, right? You like the movie because you might feel angry, you might feel sad, you might feel happy or joy, but you feel something. And that's why you're connecting with the movie. Well, that's the same thing. If we can identify a pain point, connect with it, and solve it in a way that's respectful to people, then they love you. They don't feel like you just sold them something. They feel like you're friends. And that's what it is. Selling is simply providing enough information for people to make an informed decision. So that's how I got good at that, is because I knew I was helping. I wasn't trying to make money. I was trying to help people. And then the bonus, the cherry on top was the fact that I'd made money and became very good at what I did, and then made lots and lots of money.
Which is nice too, right?
I'm not complaining about it.
I'm thinking that you mentioned being on the phone a lot and being good at selling on the phone. I think that's got to have contributed to why you're so comfortable live streaming and having these conversations, because when I first got into radio and I had a co-host for the first time and it clicked, my first thought is it's like I'm just having a conversation on the phone with a friend.
Right.
Well, and it sort of was, because at that time there was next to nobody listening because we were just getting started. But you get the idea, right? And so I wonder what that's going to do for, the younger generation who doesn't use the phone anymore, right? It's all the texting and messaging and social media and all that kind of stuff, which is all great, and they're connecting with a much wider range of people and more people and people of different ages, more so than we ever did growing up. But that ability to conduct the conversation on the phone, there still comes to be that time where you need to sell either on the phone or in person or whatever. And I think, boy, that's a skill that you picked up at a young age, and I'm sure it's benefited you in almost everything you've done.
Absolutely. And I mean, honestly, the one thing that I see right now that's challenging for people, and one of the things that I can truly help with, is that having a conversation with people is where it's all at. That's why I do so well, right? That's why, because I care about people. I'm trying to help solve their problems. I'm not trying to sell them stuff. So when I look at people like my son, and who does text and does they don't know how to grab somebody, what someone says and figure out a way to deliver it back to them or ask them a question without getting discombobulated,
Right.
And I think that is where people like me and educating, like people have been asking me to do a live sales training seminar, because in person, you've met me in person. I'm the same, right? I'm the same as I am online. I'm just the same person. I do have that same skill set to be able to conduct a conversation and help other people figure out a way to do the same in a live format where we can actually do some role playing, because role playing is what's going to change people from being afraid. When you know what to say, you don't stumble over your words. When you don't know what to say, even if you're smart, you go, you're trying to form what. But if you already know what you're going to say, or you know what needs to be said about a topic, the objections people are going to come up with, and you already come up with some additional questions you could ask or figure things out, things go so much smoother. So I think that is a skill that kids really need to learn. And I think adults that haven't learned it yet would be they would do better in whatever they're doing if they learn how to communicate and to teach their children.
Absolutely. Talk about the rewrite of your sales book. Obviously, the things are changing in business so quickly, and how we do business and the tools that we use and everything. Talk about why you decided to do the rewrite now.
Well, I wrote it originally 15 years ago. I know I'm only 22. We always say that.
Right.
But I wrote it 15 years ago. And so, the vernacular
even before
has...
your first business at 12, right?
Right, exactly.
That's amazing.
So, we look at it, vernacular has changed. And of course, with social media and live streaming. And when I originally wrote it, the internet wasn't even around.
Oh, my God.
So it's like, there was pieces, don't get me wrong. It's not like there was no internet, but it was not what it is right now, right? We didn't have sales funnels and stuff going on. It was the basics of how you communicate with people and how you come up with still market separators and to, brand yourself, even before we called it really personal branding. And so now I brought it into the modern day vernacular. I brought in pieces of, sales and social media and live streaming and understanding the know, like, and trust factor in a way that's completely different. And that's why I brought it out, because I talk about it every day on live stream. I just wasn't, I just didn't have some place to send people, because when things are older, you don't really want to send people back, even though it can be timeless. There are pieces, like if you're talking about cassette tapes, for instance, it dates it a little bit, and you start losing some validity with the millennials for sure. When I'm talking about your mobile classroom and put your cassette tape in. So,
Yeah, I've had to try and get tape out of my vocabulary, because somebody will say, "What, you do your show live?" Well, I do most of them live, but I sometimes do an update. I tape it or whatever, and then they'll look at me like, "Tape it?"
What?
No, I record. But not all. When I don't do something live, I record, and I've said it enough times to myself to try not to say that again.
It's not funny.
So, one of the things I think for a lot of us who didn't start, like I didn't start live streaming to sell anything or for I just enjoyed it, and it brought me back to my roots in broadcasting. I was having a great time. And so when I do have something that I can sell or whatever, I always have to do a transition. Like you were just talking about, people not being comfortable selling. And I feel the same way, which is why I put this in the chat and pinned it. But we'll wait till an opportunity where I can sort of make it seem natural and go, folks, I am speaking about live streaming at the Summit on Content. If you are interested in learning about content marketing, there's over 100 events, all online, no expense traveling or anything like that. Today is the last day to save $100. Anyway, the link is pinned in the comments. If you click that link, you can save $100. It's the Summit on Content Marketing, and it should be great. I'm going to talk about live streaming, of course, and there'll be lots of other talks about how you can monetize your content.
That was lovely, Ross.
But I always need an excuse like that. Like even when I'm on, like today I was on Be Live TV, right? And my segment is about marketing your live broadcast. So you think I would just be able to just go, tonight I'm talking to, no, I'll go, one of the things you can do is you can talk about what's coming up on your next show. So, for example, tonight I have Vicki Fitch on Livestream Stars at 7 p.m. Eastern. Watch it, rossbrand.live. Like, I always have to do it that way. So how do I get over that hump to where I just can feel comfortable coming on and saying, okay, I've got something you're going to be interested in. We're having a great discussion with Vicki tonight about selling. Yeah. And not have to preface it with like one of these TV transitions where you take left field and you tie it to right field with some like long phrase that doesn't really matter, you know. Okay, that was a long question, but you get the idea.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 words. Are you ready? 2. Own it. Mm-hmm. Own it. What are you there for? You want to tell them about a program that you have. You're sharing a program with them because it's going to help them. You're sharing a program with them because you're good at it. You're sharing a program with them because they need it. So just own it. Hey guys, guess what? Tonight, I'm going to be presenting this for you. I'm going to be speaking at this conference. I highly recommend that you get your tickets because here you're going to save $100 and I want to share with you ways to help you build a business and a brand. Boom.
Boom.
That's it.
That's how it's done.
That's how it's done, brother. Because seriously, because otherwise what you're doing, and then, so we're going to pretend nobody else is listening, right? Where it's just me and you right now, Ross. Okay. The rest of you guys stay silent over there. It's you are good at what you do. You know that you are. Mm-hmm. And it's that inside voice, the bully in your head. You know, I have a book coming out called The Vicki Bully in Your Head. That bully tells you, well, you got to make an excuse because people are going to think that you're pushy. People are going to think you're throwing stuff at them that they don't need. But that's the bully. It's not true. People want to know. They watch your show, Livestream Stars. They want to know who's doing it, who's rocking it in live streaming. Right. Well, one of the people who's rocking it is you that are bringing these other live streaming stars there, right? And so we have to own who we are. We have to own it so we can step up and stand out. There's nothing wrong with being good at what you do. And there's nothing wrong with embracing that. There's a difference between confidence and cockiness. And you are not cocky. You're confident. And so, you're working on that confidence, right? You're confident in what you do. Your delivery of what you do is the only thing that gets you a little uncomfortable because the fear everybody faces about whether or not people are going to judge them and say, he thinks he's all that. Who does he think ignore them. They are not part of your tribe anyway. Those are the naysayers that are going to pick apart anybody. They're going to pick apart somebody. You know, let it be you, Ross. Just practice. Just smile. And, because your tribe is not going to judge. They're going to go, yes, I want to check out what he's got. Oh my gosh. Why would I not want to learn from one of the masters? Why would I not want to do that? One of my famous sayings that I is that mentors or, people that we're watching are like bumper guards at the bowling alley. We don't have to end up in the gutter. So why do we, right? We don't just put up the bumper guards. Let's go watch Ross, see what he's doing, how he's doing it. And hey, then I can do it well. I can execute well without being embarrassed myself. So I say just own it. Those are the 2 words. Own it.
So I'm putting up on the screen VickiFitch.com/books. Tell everybody about all the different books you have to offer because you've got a lot of resources for people who are learning to sell, learning to get into business and develop themselves, not only in social media and live streaming, but certainly those are 2 areas that you know very well. Tell us about what books you have at your website.
I will. Well, one of the things that's totally funny is that when I was doing this rewrite of a Direct Selling 101, I ended up, it's so big that I actually had to break it up into 5 modules, right? The first book has everything in it, but I touch on it. So it's for people to start understanding how to sell, how to schedule, how to recruit, how to integrate live streaming, how to integrate social media. So it's spreads all the information and gives some really meaty results and examples. So people, because most of the time they're just like that little thing we were just talking about, Ross, is that they have a question and they're afraid to sell. They're afraid to be pushy. They're afraid of these things. So I address all these fears in there and help them reframe them. So we put them on a confident playing field. So there, in that, if you go to vickyfitch.com/books, you can actually sign up for information on each one of the books. The Direct Selling 101, you can click as many links as you want. 201 is on leadership and some advanced techniques, on advanced sales techniques. And no, not cheesy, sleazy selling. It's just understanding people at a deeper level, right? And one of them's on live streaming and social media and how to really integrate that in a great way. One of them is on building a business and really branding yourself and doing your market separator. And one of them's on how to offload things and how to really, crush it with some hacks and stuff that I use and those kind of things. There's also, of course, Evict the Bully in Your Head, and then there's Own It, how to step up and stand out. So I have all kinds of stuff going on, but you guys can just click the links on what you guys you're interested in.
So, I just want to say a quick hello to our good friend Mitch Jackson is here. Barb Tomlin is here. Barb, thanks for joining again. Thanks for joining on the unboxing that I did earlier. Did my first ever unboxing live streams. That was kind of fun. A little bit of a train wreck, but they'll get better.
I love it, Ross.
I forgot one little, you got to have the adapter when you plug things into your iPhone if you have an iPhone 7. So I had that in the other room. So hang out just for a second.
But you owned it. You owned it, right, Ross? That's all that matters. Just own it.
So as I'm listening to you, and you've mentioned it a couple times, it's not about manipulating. It's not about being sleazy, things like that. How come salespeople have to overcome that, whereas nobody goes into finance and goes, I'm going to look at the books today. I'm not in a sleazy way, or I'm going to go. I'm going to go into operations. Not in the sleazy way.
Gotcha.
Why does sales have that reputation that makes it hard for people to embrace selling versus doing something more creative like marketing or advertising? But nobody wants to say that they're doing selling, and you do own that. So why is there that hesitation?
Well, anytime there's a benefit in it for them, that's where things get a little tricky, right? And so, and then there's a bad reputation because most people, I'm gonna stretch in this. I'm making this statistic up, but I have a lot of experience in the industry and speaking all over the world and training and developing thousands and thousands of people. I'm going to say over 90% of people are afraid to sell. Like they're afraid to sell. Now, there's also another 5% that overcompensate for their fear and become this cocky, boisterous, and what we call the used car salesman, right? The ones that are not selling with confidence in who they are, but they're selling in manipulative tactics or bullying, and not even all the time because they're trying to just sell. It's because their self-esteem is so tied to whether or not a transaction occurs that they start doing things that are outside of what they should be doing. Because again, making the sale should be the cherry on top. It's communicating with people. It's making sure that you understand what they really need. When people come, Tom Hopkins used to say, if people can see dollar signs in your eyes, then they are, then they want to get away from you. When they know that you are sitting there trying to figure out how you're going to sell, upgrades that they don't need or whatever, it becomes really weird. And so like in the book, I try and talk to people about a couple of things. One, because used car salesmen, and I love people, and I don't care if you're a used car salesman, I say kudos to you. You do have a reputation to overcome, and if you've overcome it like Joe Girard did, then you are a rock star. And if you haven't, you can. So just know that it's a stereotype. It doesn't mean you need to own that. You don't have to have the stigma attached. But when we talk about that, people trying to sell you things, it's because they don't listen to what you need. When you go in, and this is part of the chapter in the book, and when you go in and you got a family of 5 and the guy's trying to sell you a Ferrari, that obviously is not suit your needs, right? I mean, and this is obviously an extreme example, but this is where those things come in. But if he asks the right questions, like, there's a family of 5, great. And you say, okay, I just want the base model. This is all we can afford. I say, don't stop selling until your customer is done buying. And I want you guys to listen to that, because this is, again, one of the key phrases I use in the book and something that will change your life. Don't stop selling until your customer is done buying.
Right.
Now, think about this. You may want the base model, but he knows now you have a family of 5. And if they're anywhere in the if they're anywhere from 3 years up, they're going to need a port. They need plugs, right? Because they're going to have a device that needs to be attached. So if the audio entertainment package is going to make sure you have ports everywhere, that's going to save you a lot of headache later. And it's their job to share it with you. It's not their job to sell it. Say, hey, Mary, I totally understand what you're saying, but I can see you have 3 children, and I see your husband and you both have cell phones. I'd like to share with you that the audio upgrade or the entertainment package allows you to have ports in everything. And I've seen it before. There are many people that end up not realizing that. So my job is to share with you what the other options are to make sure that you know exactly what's there. And so again, it's all about giving them the options of what they need. And so that's where then, because when people say, oh, well, you need the audio entertainment package, that becomes an argument, asking questions.
Right.
Hey, Mary, I noticed that you have a family of 5. Do you guys find that you have charging issues, that you might need additional chargers? So those questions are one of the things that will start to put people in a good place where they don't feel like they're being pushy.
So they can feel comfortable saying no without it being like a big rejection, because if they feel they have to be too powerful in saying no, at least I found, like when somebody's selling me, if they push too hard on that 10th feature or whatever, then maybe just after giving a strong no to that, I'm such in a no mind frame that it's like, you know what, take your whole car and I'll go to another dealer. You know what?
No one should ever have to have a strong answer for anything. When you ask questions, do you find that you need additional ports in the car? There's no strong yes or no.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. When they ask the right question,
when they say you need these ports because I know you've got 10 devices, and I know that how
becomes combative.
I know how you young people drive around with your 10 devices plugged in, and
which that is true. But you don't want to say that. You want to ask questions so people have an opportunity to connect and go, oh yeah, because we want it to be partly their idea too, not again manipulatively, but for them to go, oh, you know what, you're right. Like it'll reduce their stress level too if they feel like they're coming in with, okay, honey, let's play good cop, bad cop kind of thing. Okay, oh no, my wife will never go for that. Those kind of things. Right. So we got to just again own it, right? I
always thought that was a tremendous advantage married people have whenever they go to buy something, because I have to check with my spouse.
Well, and I teach people how to overcome the objections by peeling the onion, because like you said, that's usually an excuse, right? And it's okay if you don't want to buy, no problem. But then we find out if that's really the reason. So I use what I call the if I could, would use. And, if you want to talk about it, we can. Otherwise, we can move on.
No, I would love to. Share,
okay.
Please.
Well, this is another important thing, is that when people come up with a reason, usually, honestly, I've found that it's usually about 3 answers deep is the real truth, right? That people are hiding behind some other fear. Their fear maybe that they can't afford it. Their fear maybe that, they won't make the right decision. There's a lot of different fears that are involved. So if somebody said, oh, I got to talk to my wife, I'd say, oh, great. So if you had your wife's support, then would you be ready to purchase? Because what you're trying to do is find out. And if they said yes, then you know that's their objection. And then you can ask questions like, what additional questions do you think that they're going to ask, so I can make sure to provide you with the information? So when we put those, when we actually are asking because we want to know, it gives us a chance. But if they go, well, I'm not really sure, we're really busy right now, or we've got a lot of other expenses coming up. I got you. So if we could fit it in with your current budget without you feeling overwhelmed or stressed out that it was pushing you over your budget, then would you be interested? And then, you're peeling that onion to find out what's the true objection. Because again, a lot of times it's fear-based. Like, I don't know if my husband's going to like a minivan, or I don't know. And like I said, a lot of it does come down to time or money, depending on what your product or service is. And if it's money, and they say, well, yeah, I really would be. Then that's when you can go and say, well, let's talk to the finance department. Let's find out what, again, I don't sell cars, obviously, but we find out what it is that we can do. What are our options? connections. And then again, it's serving customers. It's not about, figuring out how we can put one on the books, how do we get that sale? It's about how can we serve them? And then people's guard gets let down, and now they're connected, and now they're referring people to you. They're buying additional cars or products or services. It becomes about them, and they get that, and it becomes relational, which is where people that can't converse are having trouble. Sales might come in through the internet, but if you don't have that connection, you're missing a huge part of your business.
If you'd like to learn more about Vicki's sales strategies, it's VickiFitch.com/books. Vicki, define direct selling. What do you mean by direct selling versus maybe other kinds of selling, or just how you define it?
Well, and there's a couple different things, in the direct sales industry per se, like a Avon or a Mary Kay or something like that. It's what direct sales means is that you're going person to person, right? There's lots of different things, but direct selling in an industry, whether you're person to person, a B2B or B2C, it doesn't matter. It's still the same thing. I was in the direct sales industry, which is like a party plan industry for 20 years, and was top 10 worldwide for more than a decade of those. But it's the same, those are the same, it's the same techniques, right? How can I share? How can I solve a pain point?
Right.
Making sure that you continue to separate yourself in the marketplace when other people sell the same products you do, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, most people who live stream tend to, if they're going to monetize their live stream, tend to fall into a few different categories, right? There's the people who use this to build relationships and show their knowledge and make connections that over time might result in a client or somebody who might click an affiliate link or something like that, but they're not actively selling. They're providing value, they're entertaining, they're having a good time, and hopefully along the way they build relationships and friends, right? And that leads to business. And then there's people who do this, and it's basically they put it on YouTube, they put it on their website, and it's something to have in the portfolio, right? Like a client wants to Google me and find out if I actually know what I'm talking about or whatever, and then they see it and they're like, I could probably be comfortable doing business with this guy, or you know what, I don't like his approach or whatever, that kind of thing. Right. What do you call, because I was thinking direct selling, when you said direct selling, I was thinking like the people who get on Busker or Periscope and they're like, I got a phone here, it's $7.99, but I'll sell it to you for $6.99. It's got all the features. If you'd like to order, there's a link, or, I have a Google form or whatever. You see like LuLaRoe people doing that. You see a lot of musicians. They're more hoping for tips, but some of them are selling CDs. Click the link, you can buy my CD. What kind of selling do you call that? Because that isn't happening all that much, but it's happening more, and there's some people who are doing it really well.
Well, it's still a form of direct selling, because you're still selling person to person. It's, you can have a personal relationship with someone on a live stream, just like you can in anything else. So it's the same thing, but it's kind of a hybrid method, right? Because we're still building those relationships. We're still increasing the know, like, and trust factor by giving people an opportunity to see us on a regular basis. When you sell something the first time you see someone or ever meet them, that's called a first call close. So in essence, when you're live streaming and you actually have something that converts to a sale right there, that's a first call close, which is it's very statistically they don't happen as often, especially for people who are nervous about sales. So those kind of things can make people very heady, right? And they we're not heady in a bad way, but like excited. People like Amanda Oleander, who is actually doing artwork live streaming, she's selling it right there. It's still a form of direct selling, but she is connecting with an audience because they're actually allowed to watch her create what it is they want. So she has taken, another avenue and blended it in, which is what I call a market separator, right? She's taking, she's not saying, hey, this is my painting and this is how much it is. Hey, everybody, let's go ahead and bid on it. She's creating art right there. So she had a market separator where she reached out beyond the border and created an opportunity for people to feel, again, we're all talking about connection and emotion, to feel what she's putting into it and even give input into what's happening. So that whenever you can change things, like even the LuLaRoe girls, when they are offering things up, if you give people an opportunity to there's just so much, with teaching them how to layer things together and how to look thinner. Right. As you know, I'm a vice president for Parkland Jewelry. I think that you know that. And so teaching people how to layer jewelry and to make them look thinner or taller, or, when they have a bad hair day, what do? You can sell right there, but you're creating a relationship. So it is, it's a little bit of a hybrid method.
But I do think there's something interesting about what people like LuLaRoe and the artists are doing who are selling their music and things like that is they're not going for this model like, I'm going to create helpful content for 2 years. I'm going to get you on my email list. Then another year of you loving my emails. And then you're going to click an affiliate link or something, or you're going to buy my course or whatever. They're getting right on and saying, I've got something to sell. Well, it's not a phone. It's clothes, and I'm not really into that, so I don't really watch it. But the point is that I just like how direct it is. That it's very, very upfront, and so you're weeding out people who don't want that, but you're bringing in people who are there to shop, and maybe that's a method that's been sort of gotten a bad name in some ways, but is actually providing a valuable service, I think, to people who need clothing or need music or whatever it is that somebody's selling. Do you see that's where a lot more live streams are going to go in the future, that they're going to go more direct into selling?
I think some will. I think the problem is that because most people are not very good at selling, that they turn into either the cockiness, the too much power, or they do what I call backpedaling, where they say, oh, if you guys want this, then it's great, but if you don't, it's no problem. Just let me know. Like I think that it'll end up being a little too flea market-ish, where then people will start when people see someone who's not strong that is selling, they pounce on them and try and get a better deal, and they start wheeling and dealing. I think that it takes a strong person to be able to sell with confidence in in an arena that's going to get more crowded. They're going to have to be able to stand out in a different way. It's great to get on the train right now and practice your skill set, because then you'll be better at it when it's time, when other people are starting to flood in and you're really good at it. Because just showing your leggings aren't going to be long-term thing, right? Unless somebody's looking for that. Showing somebody a complete outfit and how they can use this lace sock with this kind of boot to create this kind of trend, but you can also switch it to this shoe. They have to be able to step up. So selling is more than just offering what you have. Selling is understanding your market, understanding what's next, looking at the future, and how you can serve customers in a bigger way. Because your really great salespeople know what their clients need before the clients even recognize the need is there. So, and that's what I think, that if we could have more of those people, it would be, I think that it would be a better format, because what we'd be seeing would not be people hawking their wares. It would be people who are presenting things that make sense, and then you'd find someone you resonate with that had your same style, or what you were looking for, if that made sense.
Yep. Welcome, David Vaughn. Welcome, Melanie Weiser. We're talking with Vicky Fitch, direct sales expert, podcast and live stream host, speaker, author. We got a question from Mitch Jackson. Who is the best salesperson you've ever known, and what made him or her special? That's a great question.
Wow. Mitch, the best salesperson that I ever knew, like personally in a relationship, her name was Kimberly Brackett, and she's the one that helped me to understand an emotional selling. And for those of you guys who are listening right now, I was in the creative memories business and in scrapbooks, right? And one of the things that she used to say, we always talked about, it's hard to sell scrapbooks because you're selling homework to people, right? Is that people then are going home with something. And I was I know this will be a really big shock, but I was a little bit of a perfectionist. So, I know this is a huge shock to everyone listening. But, she said a few things, and I don't know if she's the one that said done is better than perfect, done is better than creative, but I know she utilized that phrase. And she said, and this hit me really hard. I may even tear up a little bit. She said, Her son and her daughter, I think, were 3 and 5 at the time. And she said, you know, if I died tomorrow, my kids wouldn't remember me. And my son was 3 at the time. And my heart just like, I felt like she had just pierced my heart, because I thought, oh my gosh, you know, we weren't doing scrapbooks to find out, you know, to be creative with our die cuts and stickers, right? We were doing them so we would remember that. And she didn't say all this part. This is what I formulated later. She gave me those words and that emotional attachment to my heart that said to me, I'm not selling scrapbook supplies. I am selling a legacy. I am helping people, because we didn't take pictures. So at the time it was film, right? That we could go get the film developed and throw it into a drawer. We took it because we wanted to remember. And so going in, and I started after that, I created albums. It used to take me 12 hours to do 2 pages. This is a true story, and that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, I know, right? And I one day I came out crying. I'm never gonna catch up. What's the point? And then I came out and I did an entire album of 24 pages in less than 2 hours, using a simple done is better than perfect, done is better than creative method, and utilizing the tools and getting the photos in and the journaling. And that was it, because that's what mattered. And then I added some enhancement things after, but connecting those emotional pieces is what changed my life and helped me become one of the top salespeople in the company.
Wow, that's amazing. So Vicky Fitch will be speaking at Social Media Day Denver, June 30th. That's the day at every single one of them, so I shouldn't have to think about it.
Yes.
But she'll be in Denver. The website is vickyfitch.com. The books can be found at vickyfitch.com/books. He said, Red said, tonight. Do you have a show tonight?
I don't, because I was doing your show and I wasn't sure where we would be.
That's great. That's prioritizing. Very good.
That's right.
And then Wednesday night, Vicky Fitch live at 10 p.m. Eastern. Mitch says, awesome answer, tip. Thanks, Vicky. Wow, I could ask you about 100 more questions about sales. This has been wonderful. Do check out her resources, vickyfitch.com/books. Also, if you're interested in content marketing, check out the pin link below, and you can save $100 before the end of the day. So by midnight tonight Eastern time, I believe you can still save $100 on the Summit on Content Marketing. 100 different speakers and events. Mitch will be speaking. I'll be talking about live streaming and all sorts of topics related to content marketing. So check that out. And Vicky, what else do you have coming up besides Social Media Day Denver?
Well, I'm super excited about speaking in New Zealand too, at the social media conference in New Zealand in September. It's going to be I'm really looking forward to it. So any of my Kiwi friends out there, or even my Aussie mates that might be popping over, would be amazing. It's going to be a fantastic event. So I'm very excited about that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vicky. I will be back next Monday night with Livestream Stars. The guest is Stephanie Liu. We'll be talking about Facebook ads and her setup for live streaming and a bunch of different things. She's great with social media. And also, don't forget to join us Wednesday night live from the red carpet at Mario Armstrong's Never Settle Show, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on the Never Settle Show Facebook page. We will be live interviews with cast, crew, guests. Some of our live streaming friends will be there, and we'll talk to them as well. So do join us again, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday night, Wednesday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, Western Pacific, Western 5:30 p.m. because I said night, and then I'm like, wait, no, not everybody's in the East Coast. For our West Coast friends, it's 2:30 p.m., and that's not at night. So that's 2:30 Pacific or 5:30 Eastern. I should have just said it once. I said it twice. I got myself in trouble. You got to go for the quick close. But that is Wednesday night. Please do join us on the Never Settle Show Facebook page, again, from Mario Armstrong Show. It's going to be a great time. Have a great night, everybody.